Welcome to Listen by Gene Ginsberg. This audio experience and podcast is all about social media, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, and interviews with top entrepreneurs in the digital and social space. I am your host, Gene Ginsberg, digital marketing expert, #1 best-selling author, and award-winning entrepreneur. I will be sharing with you strategies, tips, and tactics on how to grow your business and your social media following. Thanks for listening. Hey everyone, Gene Ginsberg here. Welcome to Listen by Gene Ginsberg. And today, very special guest, very excited to get Don Williams on. How are you, Don?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Gene?
I'm doing excellent. How's your week been going?
Beautiful, glorious. And the great stay home, it was still glorious. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being here today and spend a couple minutes with you.
Yes, this is great. So let's jump right in. So always the first question is to kind of give everybody some context is tell us about your background.
Oh my gosh. So I have a lot of background. I have a lot more behind me than I probably have in front of me. And so real quickly, I started selling at 19 and within less than a year was the top salesman in the country out of 450 people.
For which company?
They are no longer in business, but the name of that company was Uniway. And then I was a sales manager for them, and it took me about 6 months to be the top sales manager. Awesome. And fast forward through a lot of stuff. For the last 30 years, I've basically worked with Fortune 500 companies on marketing and sales strategy and execution. And so I was a really good salesman who didn't know much. And I spent a lot of time with a lot of big companies, and I learned a couple of things along the way.
Awesome. Okay. So tell us what you're doing now. Tell us about your company.
So where I spend most of my time is on Don Williams Global, and I'm a sales consultant. And I guess I would say I'm a tactical sales consultant. So clients come to me and we look at what their sales volume is, and we figure out how we can grow that 50, 100, 200% as quickly as possible. And that's what I do. I also spend a bunch of time writing. I'm in the middle of my 4th book right now. And then I own some other companies that I've been a very good entrepreneur, developed a good leadership team, and I don't spend much day-to-day time on those companies, but because my leadership team does such a great job.
Awesome. And so what kind of businesses do you typically work with, and what do you specifically help them with?
So I get that question all the time that, who do you specialize with? And I was like, okay, well, here's the answer. I specialize with companies that have customers. And
who doesn't have customers?
Who does have customers? And so I have law firms and automobile dealers and lawn service companies and technology companies, because the product, service, or experience, I don't want to say it's immaterial, but from the sales side, it's the product. And selling is about people. And so as long as you're selling to people, I probably can help you on the people side. I'll never be an expert. So, I'll never be an expert in what you do, Gene. Okay. But I'm an expert in how do we get more people to buy what you do.
Okay. And so do you usually do like sales team training or strategy or refining processes? What would you say?
Yes. And typically the process is kind of this: audit and assess. Let's see what's going on, what has happened. Okay. And then strategy, and then execution. And that can mean different things for different companies.
Right.
And so some companies, it's literally working with their sales management and their sales teams. Some it's working with the entrepreneur. Some it's identifying what we call the stupid. And so like step 1 is stop the stupid. And so almost everybody has some piece in their sales process that's actually sales prevention. And they don't even know how it got there, but they've done it for so long. It's just a piece of their model. And so the first thing we do is we stop all that. Okay, yesterday was the last day we were going to do any of that. And then we're going to move everything else to best practice. And, people sometimes don't realize that even if you just increase your conversion, you win one more out of 10 prospects. That's huge. If you're currently winning 3 out of 10, that's a 33% lift in gross sales. If you're winning 2, it's 50%. Okay. And even if you're winning 7, it's almost 15%.
Right.
Okay. And so it's just the little things make the big difference.
Right. That's always the case, right? It's always the little things that get you to, it's always, the question is always like, how do you get to be successful? Or like, what's the key to success? And it's like, the key to success is just doing the little things every day. And that's it. That's the key to success.
That's it, because almost everybody does the big things well.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the people who stand out in the market are the people who do the little things well.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah, consistently.
Yeah.
And so what I look for is this, somebody's looking to go from point A to point B. How can I push A and B closer together to where we can get there faster?
Right.
And because it's just not that hard. People want to buy. They need to buy. They love to buy. Psychologically, they actually need to buy. There's a little dopamine hit their brain gives them when they buy something.
Right.
No different than likes on Facebook and LinkedIn and social media. There's a little, and so you don't have to do everything right. You just can't do anything big wrong.
Right. Absolutely. So tell us about some of your recent wins.
So I have a law firm client right now that doing Google ads. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so lawyers, God love them, to get through law school, you have to have a really high mental power, right? Good mental acuity, and you got to be really persistent because they really try and run you off. And so, when you're talking with a lawyer, just understand they went through a lot of stuff that I couldn't do, right. Wouldn't do. Okay. But when it comes to selling, and a lawyer has to sell his or her services. Right. Okay. And so we've tripled one area of their practice simply with a couple training sessions with those attorneys. And so when somebody does searches for something on Google, sees an ad, clicks, does a form submission or a phone call. So they want something, right? Okay. And they wanted something actually like 1 second before they opened up the browser. Mm-hmm. They knew they wanted it. They opened the browser, they typed it in, they hit enter, something came up. They did a form submission or they did a phone call. So when do they want whatever it is they want? Right then. They don't want you to call them tomorrow. They don't want to talk later. I want it right now. And so just, instantaneous response to leads, certainly inbound leads from social media, will drive your conversion through the roof. Because the fact is, most people on a major purchase, say you were going to buy a pool, you'd reach out to 2 or 3 people to get a bid. But the odds say that you're 70% likely to buy from the first person that you speak with. Right. Now not email, not text, the first person you speak with. Okay. And so for all those listeners out there that think, well, we email all our leads, you're like, okay, well, pick up the phone and call them. And when should you call them? The second it comes in, right. Because they're sitting in front of their computer at that moment. They'll probably answer, and that takes you out of the 30% wins into the 70% wins, that one simple thing. Right. Absolutely. That's awesome. So that's good information, good tidbits, actually, which leads me to my next question is, now that we're kind of getting into good tidbits, one of the things I usually ask my guests here on the podcast is, can you share some actionable items for
for the entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening in. So, your expertise, sales, marketing, right? Training teams. If someone is just getting started with sales or maybe has been around for a while, but, just wants to up their game, some actionable things that they can take into their business and start doing today. This podcast is brought to you by the Digital Marketing Method monthly group coaching program, your methodology for growing your business and your social media following. Join me and my group of supportive entrepreneurs and learn how you can grow your business and your social media following, where we cover topics such as Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, email marketing, and so much more. Go to dmgroup.online, dmgroup.online.
Happy to. So one is shorten the time frame when you do follow up. Okay. 2, outperform your competition. Okay. And it's not hard because your competition is not that good, really. Okay. They may provide an exceptional service, product, or experience, but they're not good at relating with people and marketing. So you have to stand out. Okay. And the easy way to stand out is do something they're not doing. Okay, so if you do business with municipalities and you get an RFP and you have to give this proposed 50-page proposal, it has to be in by Friday at 2:00 and blah, 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 do all that. Follow the rules. But if you really want to win deals, print it out hard copy on some nice paper, okay, put a cover sheet in front of it, put it in a $5 binder, and go deliver it in person, okay?
Maybe a little harder these days, but...
Well, it's a little harder, but I have a client who literally just won a $500,000 deal with the municipality using that technique. And so they showed up at the office of the municipality, called the not decision maker, but the decision influencer, and said, hey, we delivered electronically like we were supposed to, but I was in the neighborhood, and so I brought you a hard copy. And the influencer giggled and said, because the office is locked, and the influencer giggled and said, well, I'm not there. I mean, it's COVID. I'm at home, but it doesn't matter. So just like if you invite someone to a party and they can't come, you still get points because you invited them. If I make the effort and I'm outstanding compared to my competition, I still get the points. It doesn't matter. So one is do better than your competition. 2, CEOs, I think really your whole job is this: cast the vision for where you're going and then get the best people in the world to help you achieve the goal. So if selling is not your core skill, okay, go get some help. Get somebody who does what I do, but it's not me. I don't care. Okay. But get professional help, so you hear all this stuff about scaling. Okay. And that's so popular. And I mean, that's a very common search term right now. Right. Let me give you the secret. You want to scale, make the next sale. Okay. The operations, the finance, all that, you don't need any of that if you can't elevate the sales. Okay. Right. Elevate the sales. We'll figure everything else out. It's kind of like a football team. If we can sell at will, we're like a team. We're like the Chiefs with Mahomes. We can score 60 points. And so that takes over for any areas where we might be a little short. Right. Okay. So get some help. And
get sales.
In sales. Okay.
Get sales and get the sales.
And get sales and wake up every morning knowing we're going to go get this many sales today. Okay. Because that's what real sales pros do. Is it's not a someday it's like, no. Today we're going to do this, and tomorrow we're going to do that, and so on. And that's how you actually, build an organization.
Awesome. I love the actionable items, things that you can take into your business today and start doing today And the answer is start making sales today.
Today. Who can you sell today? Who can you get a yes from today?
Today. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I see your book behind you, Romancing Your Customers. Is that your new book?
That's actually my second book.
Okay.
So I've written 3. I'm in the middle of my 4th.
Tell me about number 4. I'm excited about to hear what you're doing now.
Oh, thank you for asking. So about 5 years ago in Bangkok, Thailand, I started on my personal path of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a daily practitioner of intentional gratitude. And so my 4th book is a compilation of mine and other people's stories of gratitude. And so I literally have people all over the world who've shared a story with me. And some of them, we just got on a Zoom call like this and I recorded it. And then my writers and editors took over. And then we'll, put the book together. But my vision for that book is to influence 1 million people to begin the daily intentional practice of gratitude. And it's not a profit project. It's a passion project.
Love it.
And so everything else I do is about profit. I'm a sales guy. Okay. This is a passion project.
Right. That's awesome. And so when is the book coming out?
Well, so I used to laugh at people who said, well, this book took me 5 years and I wrote 2 books. So I started this book and in the 5 years it took me to finish it, I wrote 2 other books. But this is kind of that book. And so I started it before book 3. I finished book 3 first. My loose goal would be Valentine's Day, since it's a book about your heart. That seems like a great time to release it.
Yes.
But I'll have to really get busy to make it.
Okay. Well,
and if you or any of your listeners would share a gratitude story with me, cost you nothing. I also pay you nothing. Okay. $0.
Free transaction.
Yeah. $0. Okay. It's the only thing you can ever do with me for free. Okay. And God willing, the first 3 books were #1 bestsellers. Hopefully this one will follow. And then I hope it makes $1 zillion because we're going to donate all the money to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
Awesome.
And so, but if you have a story of gratitude, I'd love to include it in the book.
Awesome. Very cool. And then I always ask one last question of my guests typically. And the question is, what is your prediction for the future for the industry? And that can mean anything to you. It could be specifically for your industry in sales, or it could be self-driving cars, AI, terraforming Mars, anything. Feel free to speak on any topic that you want about the future.
I love it with that big license about talk about anything in here. So here's what I'm going to talk about. So Gene and I met a couple of years ago, and through an entrepreneur organization member. Okay. And so I want to talk about entrepreneurs. So COVID, March, country shuts down pretty much, kind of, sort of, maybe, but pretty much. We lay off as a nation, we lay off tons and tons and tons of people. I'm on a call in May with Mark Cuban, okay, Shark Tank Mark Cuban, super guy, brilliant guy, great businessman.
How do you know Mark Cuban?
But he said, well, I know Mark through a friend, NEO, okay, and so, but Mark shares, he's like, look, we've never added more than 360,000 jobs in a month ever, and it's going to take 2 to 3 years to put everybody back to work that got laid off in March and April. Okay.
360,000 jobs in the United States.
In the United States.
Okay, like for the country as a whole.
Like
not for his companies.
No. For Department of Labor jobs numbers, the official thing. And so then a couple of days later, the Department of Labor numbers came out, and we added 2.5 million jobs when the record had been 360,000. So 7-8 times, something like that. Now, granted, a bunch of people got laid off, but the thing that stuck out to me was two things. One, even a really smart genius businessman like Mark Cuban can be wrong. Okay. We're all going to be wrong. It's not can be, we are going to be wrong. Okay. But two, the genius and the grit of the American businesswoman and businessman who basically said, I am not going to go. Okay. And so we put 2.5 million people back to work in May. And then in June, 5.5 million people. So 7-8 times the record, and then 2.5 times the new record. And I am really optimistic about where we go as a country from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because we are movers and shakers and problem solvers. And in your business, in my business, and in every listener's business, I'll bet you've made some huge changes during COVID, okay, that maybe you would have made, but maybe not without. And you're going to emerge, because we're going to emerge from this. This is not going to be our forever life, right. Okay? And you're going to emerge leaner, meaner, more efficient, more proficient. Okay. And old records like that 360,000 job number, we're going to pound those with big numbers.
Millions.
Millions.
Yeah.
And so I'm so optimistic about, where we're going. And I would just tell you this, if you're not selling what you want to be selling now, get some help. I'm in Fort Worth. If you want somebody local, find somebody local. It doesn't matter.
But now it doesn't even have to be local.
But it doesn't actually.
We assume you can have clients everywhere.
Well, and I'm fortunate that I have clients pretty much everywhere. But find somebody you're comfortable with. Find somebody that's a good fit. Find somebody that will give you the help that you need, because it's not that hard. It's just hard. It's hard when you don't know what you're doing. And it's hard to ask for help. That's the other thing. We're so like, I don't want to ask for help. That's true. It's like it's a crime to say, I don't get this piece. Hey, so sales and marketing is kind of my thing. Finance is not my thing. Right. I have to go get professionals. Okay. I'm like, hey, I can bring the money. But then what do we do? Okay. Right. All I know is go get it. Go get a lot of it. Yes. Okay. And so, awesome. We all have a skill. Awesome. Well, on that note, I would love to thank you for being here. The last question is, how can our audiences get a hold of you or find you? Reach out to me at donwilliamsglobal.com. And I think I'm almost everywhere on the internet, but the website's probably easiest. Awesome. Well, thank you. This was Gene, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, this was fantastic. I really appreciate it. Really learned a lot today. I love the little tidbits and actionable items for our users and our audiences to take back. So thanks again. And thank you for being here and for being on this episode. And we will see you all on the next episode.